You left your drug running down in Miami.
Yes.
And you came back up here and said, I'm going to settle a different white product. I want to sell PVC.
Yeah, but I thought it was cool that the first jobs were very prestigious,
They are.
And-
so you actually
and
put your hands on those products that are in Marriott.
Well, this was the
So
biggest.
literally,
we
my
were-
waist
we
has gone
were
through
in-
your pipes.
We were in Marriott.
Welcome to the Small Business Safari, where I help guide you to avoid those traps, pitfalls, and dangers that lurk when navigating the wild world of small business ownership. I'll share those gold nuggets of information and invite guests to help accelerate your ascent to that mountaintop of success. It's a jungle out there, and I want to help you traverse through the levels of owning your own business that can get you bogged down and distract you from hitting your own personal and professional goals. So strap in, adventure team, and let's take a ride through the safari and get you to the mountaintop.
All right, let's get this sucker going. I am excited about this one, and I can't even tell you guys. I got hair standing on my arms. I'm so excited about this episode. That's how excited I am. So we start every episode with cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys. What? We have two extra people in here. Usually we only have one. We have graduated to having two. This is amazing. I'm so stoked because I have Ken Cornwall and KJ Cornwall in here from ProVent Systems. They've been longtime friends of mine, and I've been able to watch their business. I would like to say the word grow, but I don't even know how big it is now because they were big when I met them, and they're just even bigger now. But what I'm excited about here is that for the first time in our show's history, we have somebody with 65 years of business experience working for himself, and that's Ken Cornwall. But I can't do him justice by introducing him. I'm going to let him just tell us a little bit about who he is and where he's from. So, Ken, welcome. Why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and where you're from?
Well, thank you. Good to be here. I guess I started out way back when I became a apprentice plumber. And that was when I was 18 years old. Started out there. And of course, I've been working at the trade with my father well before that for a couple of years during school and so forth. So I was pretty well acquainted with the plumbing industry, at least to get started. So I was supposed to go 5 years to apprentice school. I only did 2 years, and that was remarkable to start with. But I was pretty well advanced. So I got my journeyman's license at 21, and I got my master's license at 23. And I worked with my dad for a while there, but when I was 27, I went into business for myself as a plumbing contractor. And I worked at that until 1980, right around 1980, maybe 79 or 80. And then I developed some products in my mind that I thought would work in the plumbing industry that was new, never thought of before. And of course, I thought it was the most wonderful idea that anybody ever had in their life. But I didn't know what to do with it. But so anyway, I looked around for some people that could help me with my new invention. And the invention was made out of PVC plastics. So I thought, well, I'll have to go to a company that injection molds PVC and PVC pipe injection, making the pipe and fittings, which I did. I found a company. By the way, I started in Detroit.
Where did you start?
Really?
What?
Detroit.
The Michigan Mafia.
You're kidding. Oh, boy, Alan. How about that, buddy? Hey, KG, where are you from?
That's when
Detroit.
Thank you. Oh, wow. 3 on 1. That is
You
the
just
Mecca.
love surprises, don't you?
I
guys?
do.
Yeah.
that's when the Detroit Lions were champions and the Detroit Tigers were champions too. So I lived through that pretty good.
So
That was a
when
long
you
time.
when you were talking about PVC in today's world in 2022, PVC is if you're in the trade whatsoever, everybody knows plumbing, even contracting. We know what PVC is. Even if I'm a DIY homeowner, I even know I go to get PVC. But when you were doing this, What year was it? It was PVC, a real name that a lot of people knew about. Things, was it really prevalent?
Well, they did in the housing market, but outside of that, no. It's all cast iron or actually copper was a big thing at that time too. Copper drainage. So anyway, it was what I was inventing was not necessarily for PVC jobs. This was a sleeving system that you could run PVC through, you could run copper through, you could run cast iron through. So it didn't matter to me. But it was a unique way of doing that. And that was normally you would just put a sleeve in a concrete form before it's poured. And you pour the concrete around it.
So this, for us listening on the podcast, this would be not in homes or residential. This is going to be in high-rise commercial or commercial.
Multi-story buildings.
So PVC was not a word used in commercial at that time. That was a big no-no.
That's correct.
But Chris, what Ken did was they just made a hole in the floor. And no one, you have to make a hole in the floor to go to the next level. So everyone never even thought about it. So he thought that, hey, make the hole work for you. Either pipe to it or through it. So instead of set a sleeve and create a hole, set a sleeve and leave it there.
Oh, and leave it, not use it as a form and leave it for just a hole, but leave it.
Leave it as part of the piping
That's
system.
part of the piping system. Leave it there.
And so the benefit there would be that your plumber could do the job quicker. Or what's the benefit to that?
Well, there's a lot of benefits to it because you can pipe to it from the bottom and to the top. And when you're done, you're absolutely completely waterproof, smoke-proof, fireproof, all at the same time. Nobody else could do that. In fact, at that time, they just had a hole in the floor. And when they ran their pipes through it, they stick a little newspapers actually around that area. So
They call that kindling.
That's what you got. So is that fireproof, Alan? To add a little gas around it too.
Yeah.
And then hit it with a blowtorch.
Yeah. Although I had a few inventions before that, but this was kind of the biggest one that I had where I wanted to get help from outside to kick the thing off.
So as you're working on this, you're a plumbing contractor. How long have you been a plumbing contractor?
Well, since the time I was 27 years old to what would be 1980, that'd be 47 years.
So you were a plumbing contractor
Right.
for
Since 27.
To say a long time.
Since I
it was a long time. So did you have a family?
Yes.
So you had a family, and your primary job was going out there and plumbing each and every day. Did you have guys working for you and had built up a pretty good sized business?
Yes, I did. I had a good sized business. You had over 50 people working.
Whoa, 50 people. Did you hear that, everybody? 50 people. I think that's what we call a big size business.
Yeah.
We still are classified small business, but that's 50.
That's still small business.
Yeah. So, but you said, okay, I'm going to go do this. So you were thinking this idea that you had, this is going to be a side hustle. It's going to be something I'm just going to do on the side and play around with and see if it goes anywhere.
Yes.
You're shaking your head.
No,
So,
Well,
I mean, you got out of that business and went into the inventing business, or decided to, pursue your thoughts and ideas after you kind of got out. I mean, you always had these, but you made that transition, having your own plumbing business, to I'm going to go and peddle my stuff.
what I thought I would do is get a company that would sell my product, and I would get a royalty for this.
oh, so have that money working for you while you're off running your 50-person plumbing
didn't know
company. I'm going to do this thing on the side.
Marketing these products. I was a plumbing contractor.
Yeah.
So my thought was just to keep my products coming out there and just getting a royalty for them.
So you developed the product. You found somebody, clearly.
I found somebody,
because we're here talking about this product.
Kalamazoo, Michigan. The name of the company was, I don't know, it mentioned PermaFit, but
Yeah, PermaFit.
that's
Colonial.
the name of the company.
Are they still around today? PermaFit?
No,
Colonial might be down in
no,
Florida.
they're neither
They're
one.
not. Anyway,
We've outlasted. Let's keep going.
We've
There's a
outlasted
reason
a
I
lot
said-
of us.
I know. That's 65 years of being in business, people. I can't stress that one enough. All right.
Yeah.
So you get this company and they start making this product.
Yes.
And the agreement was you go back Monday through Friday, Monday through Saturday, because it's plumbing and this is contracting. You're running your plumbing business and you're working on this on the side. Was it starting to become more?
I'm doing it. I call it on the side, but it ended up I was doing a lot of work with them, for them. and they would pay me a fee to do whatever they wanted me to do, which I went through for a period of time. Probably was 6 months to 9 months. I could tell that it wasn't working out very well because they were horrible as far as marketing what I had to sell. True, they made fittings and so forth, but that's a whole different marketing process.
So you actually hit on something that we talked about before. You're a plumber. You even said, I'm going to go with somebody who's better at marketing than me. And even you could sniff it, smell it, and look at it and go, you're not doing this right. This
Absolutely.
sucks. You're gone.
Yes.
How about that? Sometimes you just got to follow your gut on that one. And a lot of times we're trusting people, especially in this digital world today. Well, I'm going to get your website to number one. I'm going to get you guys to number one. But back to that. So you sniffed it out, you saw it, then what happened?
Well, I didn't know any better. I thought that I didn't look outside the box of what they were doing. I just thought they had sales reps. They made products that they sold to wholesalers. And I thought certainly they knew how to market something that was kind of extra special. And they could take and run with it. So it happens that they couldn't run with it, and they were upset about paying me for one thing, and they were upset about royalties and all this sort of thing. But they weren't doing a job, so they were unhappy. I was unhappy. So I split with them, and we made a deal that I knew I had to have an improvement with this fitting the way that I had. I knew very well that the fitting was not exactly the way I wanted it. And that's very regularly happens. You never have a product that stays the same. I have never had a new invention that stayed the same through the years.
Huh.
It always changes. And it does because business always changes. Everything changes just about every week, every month, and you have to stay with it. So anyway, I knew this before I left the company. So I was going to leave them with my product, knowing in my mind that that product was not going to be very good by the time I brought out my new one. So I signed an agreement as a non-exclusive type of agreement with them. They agreed to it.
So going into this partnership, working with this company, you signed a non-exclusive.
Yes.
Okay, so meaning for everybody out there who maybe doesn't understand this, means that if you decide to split, you can do whatever you want.
That's
I can
correct.
go start up I can bring out the same widget to be right against you.
And that was my whole idea when I did it. And of course, it didn't bother them very much because I don't think they thought I was going to do anything. They had my product.
Right. They're like, go ahead, bring it on,
Yeah,
little
go ahead.
guy. You think you got this, plumbing contractor? I don't think so. We're
So-
smarter than you.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I don't know how far you want me to go along with the process.
Well, so
That's right. You came in the fold then too.
you came in the fold or you
Yeah.
were born?
I was born.
So when he decided to bring it back and compete or basically start this, still running a 50-person plumbing company in Detroit, Michigan.
No. In 1980, I had a lot of work through the 70s through the late 70s. I had a lot of work going, and then tailed off in the end. I don't know, it went around in 1980, I guess. I know you were around, but
I was barely around. I was around, but
it was
not when you're not working. You don't know.
It was very slow period in construction in 1980.
That was the high interest rates, the ones that people are
That's
thinking
when
were
I-
high interest rates.
That's when I wanted to go and move to different territory, and I did.
So did you? The thing I really want to understand is before we go on to the products and the great success you've had. Did you shut down your plumbing company? Did you sell it to somebody? Did you have what you consider an exit strategy where you went, "Yay, I'm dancing in the end zone, and I sold this thing for a minute. I'm going to go make product."
No, I had my own shop, office, warehouse for the plumbing business. And at that time, when your business goes down, you just lay off people and kind of wait for bid jobs and so forth, trying to build it back up. In the meantime, I was involved with the inventions type of thing. So that kind of backed off and me being excited about going out and and bidding on big jobs that I'd be right back in where I started. And I thought to myself, I could make a living off of these things because there were a number of things in my mind that I could come out with. So that was my start.
Didn't you have a couple big jobs that didn't pay, and it kind of,
Yeah, I had three.
kind of written on the wall that it was done?
I had 3 huge jobs that it was a pay thing that I remember. I did a nursing home downtown Detroit, and it was through a church that sponsored it.
And they didn't pay.
And it was okay until we got to the end and found out that the pastor, he was the guy that was handing out all the checks. He disappeared. Yeah, Pastor Johnson. I'll never forget his name.
Pastor Johnson.
And then I had another one that's kind of the same thing with a guy in a big hall that he had, headed out for, eating food and banquets and all that sort of thing. It's a big job too. He didn't pay me anything. I mean, it went crazy. And of course, he wanted us to work 7 days a week and this thing because he wanted to open up at a certain time. But I didn't want to get into that.
No.
That's
part of
I
it.
love, but that is part of it. So at that point in your life, you got a family.
Yeah.
You had a plumbing business doing well, but in the 80s, a lot of us don't remember it, and I can't tell you I can. But I know a lot of people today with the rising interest rates up to 6% are like, oh my God, these are the highest they've ever been. I'm like, you might want to time out that, Tiger, because somebody who's been around the 70s and 80s will tell you a different story. But so you basically wrote it on down. The plumbing company kind of just kept whittling it down and doing this.
Right.
But you said, I've got this great idea. I'm betting on myself. I'm going to go do this.
Right.
And you did this at, obviously you got a family to feed. You got to do all this stuff. So how did you transition and close down the plumbing business and start up a product manufacturing business?
Well, I didn't start it up at that time. How we ended up in Atlanta was we had the little conventions that they showed products, and this was like a plumbing engineers convention, ASPE, they call it.
American Society of Plumbing Engineers.
Yeah.
ASPE.
In Boston.
Yeah.
ASPE.
And this
We'll
rep
be tagging
company,
ASPE. New sponsor.
rep company came around my booth and was very, very interested in my products. So they're from Atlanta and invited me to come to Atlanta. We talked about joining with them. They were selling plumbing goods. They were in the business. So that would have been, they're in the business of selling all kinds of plumbing goods. They should be able to fit mine in with what they're doing. And one of their big lines was pumps and booster pumps and everything that would go in high-rise buildings. That's what I was interested in. I thought, hey, this is a good marriage.
It's like a complementary product, something
Right.
that's going to work well. They're selling to the same people. You're like, so you're at this trade show and they came up to you at your booth.
Yeah, right. And they saw my products and they liked them. And we went there to meet with them and had a great people. I thought these people were really good. So forth. We wanted to make a deal. And they said, well, we have to have an exclusive deal. I said, well, I can't do that. And so, why can't you do it? I said, I've already signed a non-exclusive deal with somebody else. So I can't do it with you, but I'm willing to sign a non-exclusive deal with you, which is the best thing I did.
So you signed another non-exclusive.
There's another non-exclusive.
Goal number 2, right?
Yeah.
He just leveraged a non-exclusive that really he had signed and used it again to keep his business going and keep his product and his intellectual property.
Fortunately, the first business really didn't care that much if it was exclusive or non-exclusive. This company did. But
Yeah, but you use the leverage of doing it before, and they went, well, so clearly they thought this was a good product.
Yeah, they thought it was good enough that they did sign non-exclusive.
So they said, come on down to Atlanta. So you picked up your family and moved to Atlanta
1983.
in 1983.
Well, it's 82 for me.
And so in 83, so your kids at that point, one of them sitting here in the studio with us, your kids at that point were grown out of the house.
Yeah.
And you're rolling down. So you said, okay,
Boys, let's go.
we're going. And so here we go. Packed up the wife, put everything in, and Beverly Hillbillies came on flying down from Detroit to Atlanta.
Yeah.
So you came down here and Had you sold any product? Had any product been put in any high rises at this point?
And we did with the permit.
So you had product in the field, product going.
Well, I sold. I mean, they didn't sell anything. And they had, I forget how many reps they had. They had maybe 25, 30 reps around the country.
Was there a lot of pushback at first? I mean, I can't imagine when you bring a new product like that to the market where people probably are used to doing the same thing the same way for a lot of years. And they're like, I'm good with the hole in the newspaper. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So what did you have to do to get that? And nobody wants to be.
Well, it's
first,
funny how
you know?
things work out. But there came a time, here's what their excuse was. My guys can't set this thing that you want and stay in there, the pipe tube. They wouldn't be able to put it in the right place. So, how do you do it now? Well, we got a big, like for an example, if you had a 3-inch line, you don't put a 3-inch sleeve in, you put a 4-inch, okay? And if you didn't have the 4, you put a 6. If you didn't have a 6, you put an 8. Didn't matter what, they just grab it and they ran out the stick. So anyway, they claim they got a lot of room in here. If they're a little bit off a few inches, they're good. So my deal didn't appeal to them because they said they can't set this thing on the exact place you need to set it. That was their big deal.
So how do you overcome that objection?
Well, I didn't, but the industry did. It came out with post-tension cores. And those were the new post-tension cables that are in the cores. If you set a sleeve in the wrong place, you can't drill another hole. You can't use a chop saw or a hammer drill or anything else to move it. You had to set it and make sure it was where it goes. That's me.
Huh.
And this was the greatest thing that ever happened.
So industry helped you start to sell your product more.
Yeah.
You guys are in Atlanta, you're moving the product. Things are starting to pick up. You have this one product at this point. And I just one. And you had the patent on that one at that point?
Yes, I did.
At that one. So you had one patent, one product, and you're like, we're gonna keep riding this sucker.
No, I had different products.
Yeah, so just plumbing openings, there's various, there's water lines, there's stacks, there's fixture openings. So, it's a whole set
All right.
of openings.
82, 83, we moved to Atlanta. We come in. Are we living off what we're making at this company, or are we living off what we had saved?
Well, no, we're making.
We're making money at that point. Right away. Well, that's awesome. Right.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about the trusted toolbox story. Oh boy.
But it wasn't mine. It was the company I went with supplied the money.
So you went with another company. They paid you.
Yeah, they paid me royalty, paid me for my time. It's kind of like the other company. Only this time I was more involved. And I always said my product was so good. If I went out to a company, if they had a job, a multi-story job, it didn't have to be high-rise, but 4-story, 3-story, and on up. If they had a job and I went in and sold them, I would sell 95% of the people I saw, which is fantastic, really.
Great.
But I was the only one that could do that.
By the way,
all those other guys.
First job that we did was the Ritz Carlton in Buckhead.
Ritz Carlton and Buckhead. Did you hear that
But
worst? Did
actually,
you hear that?
what got me down here was the Marriott Marquis.
Marriott Marquis was
That's
another one.
That's what got me gone.
Which I stayed at when I had to travel here when I was in my consulting days. When these guys told me that story, I'm like, oh, wow. So in an odd way, I felt a kinship, right? When I first met them.
And I
I'm
can
like,
tell you,
well, how about this? My waist went right through your pipes. What? No, I don't mean it like that. Oh, God.
I can tell you how thick the floors are.
And
They're 14 inches because we
14
have to
inches.
actually cut. If you want to talk to me, I'm over here. But anyway,
I can't.
that's okay.
They can't see me on the podcast
but-
when I'm ignoring you.
That's okay. But during this time, by the way, I quit college and Ken asked me to, we went down to Florida for a while. That's a different story. But then I had to move back in January from Fort Lauderdale, Florida to Detroit, Michigan. How about that? January. So I did. So what I did is Ken peddled the product. I made it in warehouses and we rented spaces. In Virginia, my mom paid the bills. So that's
So that was the
trio.
3-man crew, the 3-person crew.
We're still here today.
And we're still here today. So
That's
you
right.
left your drug running down in Miami.
Yes.
And you came back up here and said, I'm
sold the
going to settle a different white product. I want to sell PVC.
Yeah, but I thought it was cool that the first jobs were very prestigious, you know.
They are.
And-
So you
and
actually,
Ken
so you
Salts-
actually put your hands on those products that are in Marriott.
Well, this was the
Yeah,
So
biggest,
literally,
we
my
were-
waste
we
has gone
were
through
in-
your pipes.
We were in Marriott specs for a long time.
yeah, but
Yeah.
not there. This
Right.
was a brand new deal.
Yeah.
We had- and it was the biggest job in Atlanta. And I was in Detroit when they called me, it was an outfit out of Chicago that did that job, mechanical contractor out of Chicago. They called me when I was in Detroit to meet me on a job. And of course, in between time, I met with the people from Atlanta. So it all worked together. They were so impressed with the fact that this company wanted to use me in that job. And when I went down there, that's when we sealed the deal.
And then after you do the Ritz and the Marriott Marquis, it's pretty easy to go to the next person and go, yeah, I just did the Ritz and the Marriott Marquis.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So the name recognition is starting to happen. At that point, you're starting to get in.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
so was it
But
just
I did
you?
have a lot of the guys you're talking about, and we do it this way, and we don't want to mess around with trying to get it pinpointed right in a certain place.
Mm.
But anyway, we got through with that, and it just rolled from there. Through the years, like I think I mentioned, we did all the Disney World hotels. All the major hotels use my product.
Oh boy, did he
Yeah.
just say Disney? Disney sponsorship opportunity. Don't worry
We
about
were-
it. Small
we were-
Business Safari, Disney. Everybody needs to know that. Disney, call me. Love the ears. So you guys did it. So was KJ the one? Was he your production department?
Well, yeah, when we were in Detroit, he was.
Yeah, my
Not so
first,
much
our
here.
very first job, by the way, was in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And I had to drive a steak truck that we rented on I-94 from Detroit to Kalamazoo, and it was in the wintertime. And people were beeping at me on the road. I thought, how nice they are. I wave it to them. And I looked in my rearview mirror and I saw them losing half the load.
All the
So I called my dad. I said, Dad, and I'm like, you know, 20,
There'd be- How nice of them.
21 years old at the time, by myself, no jacket, because that's what you do at 21
Yeah.
in the winter, and drive a truck. He said, KJ, just bring it back and we'll just redo it, and just, you know, very calmly. And I did, and try to gather up all the stuff. But I do want to say one thing.
So you didn't go back through the highway dodging? Like,
No, I tried to pick up
Frogger, try to pick a ball up
I
on
tried to pick as
I-94,
much as I could. Yeah.
where a bunch of those really
Yeah.
nice Michiganders who were beeping at you were
Actually,
trying to take you out. Get out of my way, kid.
I do want to say before we go any further about kind of like the product line, what it is, you know, it replaced the hole in the floor, right? So what it did was it allowed these plumbing contractors to prefabricate their piping runs to different bathrooms. And as we all know, even if we're not plumbers, the bathroom units are the same every floor. There's only a few different styles, but that's the beauty of same measurement, same everything. And Ken's system allowed them to prefabricate these piping runs and then take them out to the job, and then not deal with a hole, but deal with something they can plug it right into, and the same measurements. So they're not dealing with holes in the floor. They're dealing with an actual sockets, right?
So-
To just pop them in.
So you bring up a good point, and this is where I'm interested in this one. Do the plumbers drive the call for these? Because can they tell a GC, hey, look, this might cost you more, but you need to get this stuff in? I mean, who buries that cost, or who's the one who specs that out and says, hey guys, you got to use this? Because if some sub came to me and said, Chris, this will make my life a lot easier, I'm like, yeah, but it costs me more
Well,
money.
to start out, it was always the plumber. He could see the advantage to it a lot quicker than anybody else, because he could utilize them in a different way. You know, plug in. We had a lot of different ways of using it, and just the fact that the waterproofing, smoke proofing, everything else that was done worked for them. They're the first ones to look at. But after that, then the professional engineer starts seeing it on a job and say, hey, what's this? And so forth. And that's the way it grows. And of course, you have to really work at it to make it go. So I did a lot of traveling. Actually, my oldest son, Walter, he was my rep in Florida, and he did a fantastic job too. Florida was a fantastic market, still is.
Because of the need for high rises there.
Yeah, look at all the high rates And
How long was it after you brought this product to market before somebody tried to copy it and take your business from you?
after my patent ran out, I think my
Just
first
before it did.
patent was
So how long
came
ago?
out in like 1979 or 80. I think maybe
There was
it was either
17 years,
79 or
right?
something like that. So
Yeah,
17
17
years.
years. And then
After 17 years, boom, we had a lot of
Market got flooded.
market got flooded.
So at that point, do you, try to establish yourself, or you've already established yourself as the original and the best and the pioneer, but they're coming in with,
Yeah.
stuff made overseas that's cheaper. I mean, how did you fight that, or did you just pivot to the next product? Because apparently, from what I saw in your bio, you're not a
Well, we hung on with what
one-hit wonder.
we hung on.
Exactly.
We actually hung on to the same product because I thought it was still the best way to do it than they got out there today. But price did come along with it. And today they're buying products for the cheapest. Some people don't. Some people stick with us. And I figure it's worth. I could change. I could start making their product too, because there's nothing sacred about what they have that we couldn't do either. But I didn't want to do that. I stuck with it, and I think it's a smart idea than just to copy everybody else.
they dumbed it down. They made it cheaper,
I'm not a
less
copier.
quality.
Right.
And they have money, and they had better tanks and ammo than we did.
Yeah.
But we were the original, and ours is quality. I mean,
So when you were the production arm, KJ, and driving the product and throwing it all across Michigan and the freeways, were you guys your own company at that point, and you were using the other company as a manufacturer's rep, and
Oh, yeah.
or was this a partnership?
We forgot about talking with the other company. When I came with the other company, I was supposed to be the technical guy to put together whatever brochures that they could use and so forth, and they were going to do the selling. The problem was they couldn't sell. Their reps, unless they're mainline people that can handle a lot of different lines. They're usually all in the lines that everybody buys. The wholesalers, you walk in there and they got a whole bunch of them on the shelf and they sell.
price and
Or
availability.
they're a spec line or something like that.
Right.
Mine was not none of those. So we were, between my son Walter and I, were really doing all the selling. So I thought, wait a minute, this is what our agreement was. So I split with them. However, they spent a lot of money advertising. They flew people in. We had schools and we did all this stuff. And it was very expensive. They spent the money, and I figured, well, that's their money if they want to do it this way. I wouldn't have done it that way. We ended up doing it my way anyway, so all this other money they spent wasn't worth it. And I told them that. But I agreed to pay them back every penny that they put forth. It was a lot of money, like $200,000.
And this is here in Atlanta after you'd started.
Yeah.
Actually, it was more than that. But yeah, he said, I'll pay you back everything.
I don't
that
know
you
if
guys
anybody
put-
listening here says, hey, if
How
you got
much
200
was it?
grand just sitting around,
No,
ready
it
to
was
buy
more
somebody else.
Dad, it was 4 something. And we left and we went to Spaghetti Junction, the 3 of us.
Well,
And we hired people again to we started all over again in like
So-
19.
So you paid him the 400 grand or whatever.
No.
Yeah.
Over time, I think it was
Yeah,
a 5-year period,
5-year
but we
period.
paid him off in 3 is what happened.
So you paid somebody to get out of a bad partnership.
yeah, I did.
That's a tough decision. I mean, that's a let's face it, that's a ballsy decision, right?
Well,
To
they
pay somebody
got-
2,
they
4,
did
I don't care what the number is. You're paying somebody that you didn't think was doing their job, but you felt like, I'm going to do this thing the right way because I do know you and I know you like to do things the right way.
Yeah,
But that's just a lot of damn money,
it
man.
was.
How did you say, okay, this is what I'm going to do? I've had it.
Because I think he believes in the product. He knew how to sell it, and he knows it's good. So that wasn't an issue. The big thing, it became his business. So I think the deal was, I'll pay you everything back, and if I can't do it, you guys buy the company for $1 and we go our separate ways. But if I can do it, I buy it for $1 and we go our separate ways.
How about that? Second time that we just heard a great negotiation line. If I can't do it, I'll buy it. And you can buy my business back for $1. You get it all back, everything you ever spent, plus I paid you back. And if I can do it, you get it for $1. So if I'm on the other side, I'm like, all right, so I just get to recoup my loss. I didn't get a loss. I didn't make any money, but I didn't lose any money.
Yeah.
And then I could get all this stuff back when this loser can't figure it out. All right, I'll take that deal. And you're on the other side going, yeah, well, you guys have screwed up. You done screwed up now.
And by the way, I tell that to a lot of people that are going through a bad time, failing at whatever they're doing, because if we didn't fail, that would have never happened and it wouldn't have become our business.
Yeah, it's still a hard pill to swallow and a hard path to go on. I know you guys are looking back on it now, but if you're in the middle of business, you're faced with that decision. And we talked about this before we went on air. I mean, every day you're running your own business. We're solving problems. That's not a problem. That's okay. Give me a bigger word.
Big problem.
Big problem. I mean, wow. I mean, this is a tough call. So you had to make that call, and you had the resources where you said, I'll pay them off over time. Then you had to go find your own facility. Then you had to start making your own product,
right,
and tell Walter and yourself, boys, put your sales shoes on because we got to sell a lot more.
Yeah.
Wow. So you did that. You guys started taking off. Had you started to see the momentum? You started selling it your way.
Yeah, well, I knew at that time I could do it. I wouldn't have done it if I didn't think so. I mean, it wouldn't have.
Well,
I didn't
all
want
entrepreneurs
to, want to
are
sell
really
everything for
altruistic.
a buck and give them my patents on
Yeah.
top of it. That was another thing that threw it.
Right. And oh, wow. Sweeten the pot a little bit.
Yeah.
That's how much you bet on yourself. We talk about that a lot in this podcast, is that when you go into small business, who do you want to bet on? You want to let somebody else bet on you, or do you want to bet on yourself? And when you go to run your own business, man, you're betting on yourself. And it's fun and scary all at the same time. So you guys go off, you start doing this, you start selling product. And this is the product we're selling at this point, is the penetration, selling to the plumbers.
Yeah. The penetration business.
big
was the
market.
was the
Right now, I had a
top.
2-person sales force and a 1-person manufacturing arm sitting over to my right. What were you guys thinking at that point? And did you guys really start thinking about scaling? Is this one of those things where you were the dog trying to catch the car and you're like, oh my God, if I caught the car, now what? Like if I just all of a sudden got 45 jobs in a row, or what were you guys thinking at that point?
Well, we think we could do that, and we could make a lot of money. And I just want to go back to, as far as people wondering how I was so clever to do all these things that I did that turned out really good for us, is I was also in plumbing business for many years, and I learned how to handle a lot of business things that unfortunately a lot of people wouldn't have that experience like the way I had going through. So I knew some of the tricks of the trade from my plumbing contracting business. So, you okay?
I'm checking. So one of the things I love to do, and I just threw you off, I'm sorry, but I just couldn't help myself, because I like to go Facebook Live when we're doing our podcast. This episode is going to get published, but I just wanted to see if the third person was actually watching, and she is. So, hi, Virginia. I hope you're enjoying it. So, yes, we're going to keep going. All right. So that's what I was doing. I was waiting for her to join. I saw she just joined. Now I'm really pumped up.
Right.
It's a lot of people have great ideas, but they never do anything with it. And so I'm really impressed with the fact that whatever was going on in your life, you had this idea and you were so committed to it. You were a plumber by trade. You don't know anything about the patent process. You know, you got to get yourself a lawyer. You got to figure, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
Can you spend a few minutes? And now, how many patents do you have now?
50, and I have 4 working.
So they're kind of like potato chips, I guess. You eat the first one, and then next thing you know, you do the whole bag. But
Can I just eat one?
yes, no.
I wanted one. I
And
just
once
wanted
you-
one
once
in my
you've gone
life.
through that process once, then it's
I
not
have
so
patent
intimidating.
envy. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I have patent envy.
Well,
He's probably right.
in fairness to the patents, they're all about plumbing. I don't have one patent that's not about plumbing or piping or securing and whatever. They're all related. And that all came from my background. And that's what pushed me through this whole thing from the beginning to the end. My background as a plumbing contractor. That was the key, because I was superior to any of these manufacturing reps or manufacturing people. They may manufacture a product that a plumber uses, But I'm the plumber, and I could look at a product and say, that was good, this was bad. They did, I can't say none of them had people on their staff that could say this is good and this is bad. Very few of them would hire a person like that, but some of them would. But I was the guy that knew what was good and what was bad. And when I patented a product, I knew it was good, or I didn't patent.
But that's still a pretty big process to get something patented, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And it's kind of scary for a person who's never done it before. And you got to make sure you get the right patent attorney. That's very important.
I want to say something though. My dad is unique in an industry that goes by the book, and there are a lot of industries like that. So he invented some stuff that's like, this is way better than you guys are doing it. And it seems like the industry is so slow, and there's not many guys like him at all in this industry that are creating new ways to do old things that no one thinks about changing, because guess what? You got to go by the book. It says here in the code book, you can't do that, Ken. And he would say, well, this is better. And he has changed many, many codes.
Yeah.
It's obviously a rare person and amazing, and that's why I'm so glad you're on the podcast. A lot of us don't have that mindset and mentality to think out of the box, right? We've heard of that, such a trite phrase, but KJ, you said it better than I did, is that plumbing is a very slow to move industry because they also
All
feel
the
the weight of
trades.
safety. Yeah, electrical,
Yeah.
construction. I got my GC license. The reason we still think wood is the absolute bomb is because wood's been around a lot longer than us, and that's why we think it's going to hold the houses up a lot better than anything else out there.
Right.
I don't want to hear about this new thing, concrete, or this new sacrete. I know wood works, so it's hard, and it's hard to break that mold and think out of the box and do this. And so, for those of us who haven't gotten a patent, you've just thought about it 54 times and went through the patent gauntlet. Which, Alan, you answered the question. Yes, it is hard to get patent. That doesn't even begin to answer how hard it is to get a patent, because it's the uniqueness, it's the idea, it's the attorney,
You
it's
have to
the
make
checking.
sure nobody has done something similar before. I don't even know what the process is to research that, but
I'll tell you an interesting thing about patents. You think you get something really unique, and you do a patent search on it, say, oh, 1913, the same thing a guy had. You can't use his because it's exposed art, and it's there, and it's what you invented, right? So boom, you don't get a patent. And it's crazy because it's just the way the law reads, and it's hard to get a patent because you can imagine all these years. At one time, they thought there could not be any more patents. All the ideas they're already out there, which was the biggest joke of the century.
Right.
But that's the way it was. And when you see something that was invented in 1940 or 1913 or whatever it was, that's your product out there. It may not be exactly, but it shows enough that you didn't think of, and yet you did. That's kind of hard.
KR hit on one thing that I love that people think, and we all think that because we're stuck sometimes in our own mindset, is that, well, everything's been invented. I can't come up with anything new. So this is impossible. I can't do that. Wrong, right? That's as you said, the biggest joke of the century. If you've got a great idea, then pursue it. Go figure it out. Do it the right way. Yeah, it's a lot of work, but if it was easy, anybody could have done it. So good luck for you if you want to go out and try it. Go get it. Go make it happen. Go do that. Because not every great idea has been thought about already. And I think that's just so key. But I want to get back to the fun of running your own business. So you've got this product. He's not a one-man band in the product shop anymore because you guys started selling, get things going. So you had to start scaling.
Right.
So who scaled the operations? How did you scale the operations? How did you scale it? How did you start to scale that business to get to today? How many employees do you have today?
Well, we have over 50. We have an injection molding plant up in South Carolina, plus the place we have here in Atlanta.
That's another great story.
So injection molding, place in Atlanta. We're making how many different products out of these areas now?
I don't know. We got to count them.
Yeah, it's so many.
So
And what we do,
more than one.
I tell people, no, it's like Lego blocks. You remember Lego blocks? And I tell people this today. I said, our stuff is like Lego blocks. You really can make anything out of it because the parts and pieces go together to handle whatever the issues are out in the field. And they change with construction types and fire rating, hourly ratings, and all what you got to have. you got to core drill a hole, and then on top of that is laminate, and then on top of that is poured concrete. And it's like, what? But yet we could do it. Our hardest part now is calling it something and putting it in the computer. But we can make it. That's the easy part.
Oh, you ran out of names.
No, well, no, but we got to name it something. Now we just call it fabrication for, like, we can make it specifically for your job.
Okay.
And your job.
I think
Could be-
Alan's saying, really, let's get honest. Alan's saying, can you name a product after him, please?
Yeah,
or- I
absolutely.
could be
We
your
can.
guest director of new names.
Yeah,
Is that the title you want?
Yeah,
So you get
something
used
like
to this?
absolutely.
Yeah.
But I will
Uh,
say this too.
You
Not
should
many
come
people.
to work for us because we can't think of the names. We need a name call.
We need a, I'm the official name caller from
It's like the horses at the Kentucky Derby, their names just get longer and longer and longer.
Yeah.
The trouble with Ken is he does everything, right? And so he starts to name these things, and it's like, Dad, no, we'll do it. But you don't have to do that. But he's into everything, and he'll name stuff. And Dad, we already have that in the system. We made that already, or whatever. But it's fun. And I was going to say, not many people. I mean, he loves it so much, he's still doing it, and he's still got 4 future patents in the till. And there aren't too many mom and pop run places that still, after all these.
I love how you called it mom and pop run places, because truly, this one is a mom and pop run place. Dad's here, mom's watching here on Facebook Live, son's sitting to the right of us. But when we talk about mom and pop, let's just get real, people. We're talking about like Jeff Bezos style mom and pop. These guys have killed it. They've done a great job.
So you said the South Carolina plant was a good story.
Yeah,
Because
because
we
I got a call one day from my dad saying, hey, the guy that ran the plant and they ran parts for us, his name was Nim Renfro from South Carolina. And Nim died, and his son was probably incapable of running the place, and eventually they went out of business, and they were running our parts, and we had all our molds there. And I got a call from my dad. He said, KJ says, I think I could buy this place for a really good deal. It's just me and the bank, but I don't want to buy a business that I don't know anything about. So I said, no, do it. He says, but I don't know who can run it. And I said, I do. So it's a great story. There's a husband and wife that used to make products for us back in Alabama that got married in the warehouse. And they flipped a coin, unbeknownst to us, to accept the job to run the ProSet plastics in Spartanburg, South Carolina. And they've done it for years, but it's allowed my dad to let his mind go now and to tinker and to make things, because we have an injection molding plant that can make it. So it kind of, another thing happened in our business. So since he bought the plant, I don't know how many new products you've come up with, but a lot. And some are just no-brainers. The one we make now, they only made in cast iron, and we own a plastics plant, and everyone's running PVC pipe to this fitting. Ken says, I think it's time to make that thing out of plastic. And we do.
So you run everything in the cast iron, so you started making that fitting.
Yeah. So there's a fitting that my brother sells, Wally sells. It's a cast iron fitting. Only 2 people make it in the United States, and it self-vents itself, which means you eliminate all the vent piping and everything that goes along with it, hangers and couplings and the penetrations for it. So it's very valuable. So they fought all the battles and everything else, and it got acceptance over the years, and Ken's on it all the time. Just like I'm looking at the fantasy football magazines, he's looking at all the trade magazines like all the time. When I look in his office, he's in there looking. He's on it. So he says, you know what? All these people are hanging PVC pipe from these cast iron fittings. I think people's thoughts are, why don't they make that thing out of PVC? And he did.
Yes, we'll allow you to speak.
Getting back to your podcast, Chris.
Yeah.
I'd like to bring out a point that probably once every week or every 2 weeks, somebody calls me and says, I got an idea. And I know that you got all kind of ideas, and I was wondering if you'd mind helping me with my idea. And I'll tell them, no, I love to hear people's ideas, and I love to help you if I can. And so they're lost. They think they got the greatest invention in the world, And maybe they do, but they don't know what to do, what the next step is. And I try to explain the best I can, but they are truly lost in what to do. They don't have money. They don't know where to go to say, hey, this is a great product or whatever it is. And I explain to them, that's what you want to find out first. Don't be afraid to talk to other people about it. Just have them sign a disclosure agreement, and they'll help you because people like to help other people. And so I try to get them to get moving at least on what their idea is, to get it somewhere where it will work and do what they expect it to do. It's very difficult. But
Which part's very
you
difficult?
can do it.
Which part is the difficult part?
Partly to what should I do? They're always afraid somebody's going to steal their invention, but you got to get over that, because if you're going to do anything, you have to do what you have to do, even if you lose it, even if somebody steals it from you. You
Right.
still got to go through these steps to get it to where you want it. And you try to deal with people that are going to help you and not hurt you,
Right.
So that's another trick. But anyway, it can be done. So anybody's listening is thinking about something like that. You got to pursue it to a point where you've done your best job in getting where you want to go, because that's what they really want to do, but they don't have the wherewithal to do it.
This, there is so many more areas I want to keep going. But I want to also know that our audience, we're used to a 45, 50-minute podcast. Kara just dropped another great one. You can do this, and people want to help you. We've talked about this before. People come to me and say, Chris, I have a handyman business. Can I come talk to you? Sure. I flip my QuickBooks around and go, there you go. You're showing me everything. I'm like, yeah, I sure am. You know why? This is a really hard freaking business, bro. Good luck. So to your point, people are willing to help you. If you think people are going to steal from you, man, that's such that corporate mentality that I had to get away from. That, share, talk to the right people, have them sign the NDA. That's going to keep you protected. And frankly, it's just a piece of paper. You got to know if this person's a good person or not. Because if you came to me and said, man, I have this great idea, frankly, I don't have enough time to go figure out how to steal this one anyway, because I got too many other things I want to do anyway. And even if I think I'm going to steal it, I'm going to do that for like 5 minutes. And the next 5 minutes, I'm going to go over with fantasy football trying to figure out how to be KJ. So there is so much more I want to talk about, but
Right.
I just wondered if we could maybe get you guys back for just another episode. And maybe you guys come back, we could talk about how you've grown from, because we talked about one product that's turned into 54 different products, or actually unnamed products, how you scaled and how you guys went through that. Would you guys be willing to come back?
Yeah.
Great. Well, before we let you guys go, how can everybody on the podcast get a hold of you, find out more about your stuff? Or maybe they said, oh my God, I got a family member in the contracting business, or I'm a contractor, I'm in this business, I got to get this product, or I got to get hooked up with these guys. How can they find you?
You can find us at our website, ProVentSystems.com.
There's 4 numbers there.
Yeah, phone numbers are all there. All the contact info's there. And by the way, he talked about the history, the whole thing, and all that. I got to tell you, we've been blessed with the best people to work for us. That's another lucky thing that, it just happens. The people, we hardly have any turnover with people. The plastics plant in South Carolina, though, they go
How
through.
many people have you lost already this year, Chris?
And on that note, everybody, that was a great episode. You guys have done a great job. And yes, I knowing you guys personally and the culture you built in your company has been amazing. I continue to talk about culture and how it's important it is. Yes, in my business, I have a very transient workforce. That's a nice way of putting it. Yes, I've lost a lot of people. Thank you, Alan, for bringing that up.
Just wanted to point out the distinction there.
Thank you.
Well, it's
All right.
it's been a blessing to us. So
All right. Well, we're bringing you guys back. If you like this episode, go out there, follow us. Small Business Safari. You can find us at thesafaripodcast.com. You can go out there, rate, review, follow us. Please. I just need more listeners. I want to hear from you guys. This is Chris and Alan saying we got to go.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Small Business Safari. Remember to keep that positive attitude, which will reflect in a higher altitude as you're out there making it happen in the wild world of small business ownership. Until next time, go make it a great day, Adventure Team.